I'm Anita Casalina. Welcome to Earth 2.0. My guest, Chiu, is the CEO of Enya, a startup in Palo Alto, California that develops privacy and security technologies to protect consumers and patients. When COVID-19 hit, Enya was well positioned to help, and they launched a new web app called FeverIQ for users to assess their own risk of spreading the virus. FeverIQ gives a simple and private way for businesses and schools to screen the health of anyone they come into contact with, helping them to reopen more safely. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you certainly are right in the thick of what the world needs right now with this FeverIQ app. Tell us how this began, because you already had, I think we need to roll back and talk about Enya first. Enya already had been doing work that was sort of a platform that you could build on for FeverIQ, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So what Enya is a technology platform to help companies build privacy-preserving products. And we've made it super easy so that any developer can do it. You don't need to be an expert in cryptography.
So what does that mean for anybody who doesn't speak the language that you do, which is the technology language? What is the privacy-protecting product? What does that really mean? Let's say I have a website that I'm building, and I want to bring that out to my clientele, but I also want to protect their privacy. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, FeverIQ actually offers the perfect example.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so let me break that down. So FeverIQ fundamentally collects symptoms data related to COVID. It analyzes the symptoms report and then gives you the results and tells you, well, are you likely to be infected or not? And we do all that analysis on encrypted data. So what happens to your symptoms is they get encrypted and then never decrypted again. No one else would ever see them. And we perform our analysis on that data, protected without looking at the actual underlying raw data.
Okay, so by encrypting that means you basically put it into what they used to say, it's in code. So we don't know what it says. It's like, oh, here's a message, but it's in code, and we can't really read what it says. I'm kind of talking baby talk in a way here for people who don't know what this language is exactly. So encrypted means it's made secret, private, and it says something different than what it would say if it was just straight language. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's what it means.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll go on and talk more about FeverIQ. How does FeverIQ work? Let's say I find out about FeverIQ and I subscribe to your website, and I have a cough one day before I go to work. Is that how I would report myself as having a symptom? Is that correct?
What our customers do, these are businesses that are opening up now. They're using FeverIQ Health Check to ask their employees to check in every morning before they leave home to see how they're doing. And in most cases, it's fine. They can just still go to work safely. But in some cases, the symptoms might indicate that there's a likelihood that they've been infected, in which case they get a very simple message that they should stay home, call their doctor, and probably go get tested.
That's interesting because it's the employer who is actually your subscriber in that way, and they provide this platform to their employees, and the employees then fill this out and let their employers know about it. And privacy is really a big issue. A lot of people are worried about the contact tracing apps and that sort of thing that what's being developed now. They're like, well, I don't want people to know, that people are afraid of their reputation or whatever. How do we keep it private once the employers have it?
That's a great question. So the way we analyze the symptoms is that they never leave the employee's phone or computer. By the time the data gets to us, they've already been encrypted or scrambled in a way that cannot be reversed back to its original form. And we perform our analysis on that data and send back only the result to the employer. So it protects the employee's privacy. It's also a benefit to the employer as well, because guess what? They just want to keep everybody safe and show the government and the employees that they're doing the right things to protect their team members. They don't really want to see the employee's personal health information, and they certainly do not want to run the risk of leaking any of that information to anybody.
I think all of us want to support each other and make this a safe environment for any of us to go back to work. So how many employers do you have now who have subscribed to FeverIQ?
Well, we've just launched the product last week, so we're still responding to a lot of inbound interest, doing a lot of demos. I don't have the latest numbers yet, but we've just been so swamped by the response. It's really encouraging.
Well, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to talk with you here on Earth 2.0 is to try to publicize this, because one of the things, and I know you're aware of this, that COVID has made people feel is desperate and helpless, and like there's nothing to do except just sort of hide at home, and it's really hurt the economy. It has hurt people's income. So any kind of information that we can get, any window that can open, that can reveal to us, some facts to make us feel safer, is really, really helpful. And I was looking at the map on your website. I was happy to see in San Francisco, we're here in the Embarcadero area, and I was happy to see, oh good, not too many red dots around here. But I kind of zoomed in for one of my employees. He said, well, let me see, that looks like it's near my house. And so I zoomed in, and it wasn't. But is it that accurate in terms of where it shows people are? I don't want people's houses to have a red dot on them.
That's a great question. We actually intentionally randomized the reported location within a kilometer diameter, which covers a few blocks. So the dots that you see are never actually mapping to the actual accurate, precise locations of the person who reported it. And we did it intentionally to protect their privacy.
So privacy is really the primary focus of Enya. I can tell, because now this is a new application for Enya, but what made you think about this to begin with? When you first started Enya, what was it that made you want to think about privacy for consumers and patients?
Well, there are certainly consumer concerns around privacy, and we felt that most products and services out there on the market don't pay enough attention to privacy. It's not because they're malicious, but it just takes too much work. So we wanted to make it super easy for businesses to do the right things for the consumers. And then on top of that, we keep hearing about data breaches, our own personal sensitive information getting stolen from company after company. What if companies start collecting less information from us, but they're still able to deliver the level of convenience and personalization that we've come to expect? Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be very nice. See, we've had some personal issues around here too with privacy and data breaches. As you know, a lot of these big companies that get hacked and have a data breach, they don't tell people for months and sometimes years. So in this way, there would be less likelihood of, let's say we've signed up with a bank. Let's think of a bank then. If banks can subscribe to the work that Enya does, that protects the consumers and the customers. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Any company that uses Enya for their work would be able to still analyze the data they need to do business without the liability of storing or keeping that sensitive data and keeping that around.
I know so many people get very, very tired of, they buy one item online, and then for the next 2 years, it's like, I bought a sofa, let's say, and then for 2 years you keep getting ads like, hey, here's a sofa, here's a sofa. Does this tie in with any of that, or is that company that sells the sofa would have to be a subscriber of Enya? Is that correct?
What we're seeing is there's a trend on the internet where businesses are shifting away from advertising-supported business models. That model worked in the beginning of the internet when it was new to all of us. And so they needed to offer products and services for free to entice us to go try them out and have advertisers pay for these products and services. Well, it's a different time now. We care a lot more about our privacy, and we don't need a lot. We would rather pay for the products and services that we want as opposed to giving up our privacy for who knows what and have our data accessible by strangers that we don't even know.
It's really true. So the focus here of Earth 2.0 is to talk about the way to create a more peaceful and more sustainable post-pandemic world. And I really feel that privacy is going to be part of that, that so much of what we have had it feels like so much has been taken from us. We've gained so much by being able to speak with people all over the world. We know now about the oneness that we have, that we're all one humanity. All of us could come down with COVID. All of us have issues that are very, very similar, which, you know, is wonderful for peacefulness in the world in some ways. It's like, you know, you meet somebody in a completely different country and you discover, wow, we have so much in common, you know, and you wouldn't have met them if it wasn't for the internet. But as you're saying, this privacy issue is just so woven into our lives. We had private lives for the most part up until this time. So I think that privacy is going to be a big part of the world that we want to rebuild post-COVID. And what are your thoughts on that?
I think what you just said is absolutely spot on. And that's why we built Enya. We want to make it very, very easy and to accelerate this trend towards giving us our privacy back. Without privacy, there is no freedom, because if our data, personal sensitive data, is floating around out there and centralized into the hands of just a few very powerful parties, be they governments or large businesses, then we're basically living under a surveillance state.
Yep, and we don't want that. We've seen what other people's lives are like when that happens, and I think that this is going to help us move in the correct direction. And we wish you all the best with this. And let's check back in a while and see about how many subscribers you have and how it's working for you, not just with COVID, but just, you know, in general with Enya and corporations and businesses signing up with you. Thanks so much for joining us today, Alan.
Thank you, Anita. Thanks for having me.